who will be behind the controls. We also have Karima Mundell Thomas, one of our math coaches, Tamika Lodge Fenton, who is the regional mathematics coordinator, all present online. Others will be joining us shortly. And of course, yours truly, Faithlyn Williams, one of your main presenters for today. So as you grab your material, we ask you to also listen. One more thing before we begin, because we're looking at the participants, they are coming in still. If you notice that a friend of yours who is a teacher at another school is not here as yet, you could call them up and ask them to join us. All right, so we have given you enough time to get your materials. You're one of our presenter, Carol Harris. She will be leading out this session for this morning. And so I will be handing over to her just now as she takes the lead this morning. So as she is coming up, let's look at the outline for this morning. We will be solving a real world problem that involves a number of things, and these objectives were pulled from your curriculum. All right, so we have them displayed on screen here. So definitely we'll be describing geometric patterns and making predictions for them. We'll also be identifying mirror line as being a line of symmetry. And you will be identifying and drawing the following polygons: triangle, square, and irregular quadrilaterals, including rectangles. Also, you'll be required to read and interpret bar graphs, and we will be using grid of unit squares to find the area of any shape. And finally, you will be required to add fractions with like denominators. All right, so we have Miss Harris ready for us.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to be with you this morning. And we will be, as Mrs. Williams shared, my name is Carol Harris, one of the Region 1 coaches. And today I will be looking at what we mentioned a while ago. And so we go right into it now. We will begin with our sample performance task. And as you continue to write in what you're doing, I hope you have all your material ready, as Miss had asked you to do earlier on. So in this performance task, we'll be looking at the new recreational park that is being done in a community. So in this park, we have several items, and the items are going to be used in different ways, and we want for you to see them and be able to use them as you go. So as we go into this, I would like for you to get an idea of where we're at. It is a citizens association of your community is doing a renovation or a redesign of the community's recreational park. The current design has several walkways. Just a minute. The current design has several walkways, and in that design, we're going to be looking at several walkways that lead to different facilities in the park, and it also has 2 rectangular sections, one for the common playground and the other for the children's playground. Now, your role, so as a member of the committee, your task is going to be to use the geometric patterns that you're going to see for the current walkways. You're going to use the geometric patterns rather for the current walkways to create similar designs. And not only are you going to do that, but you'll also be asked to make the requested change to the common playground. You'll be also asked to interpret the results of the survey that was conducted by the Citizens Association. And finally, you're going to use the results. You're going to use the results of that. You're going to use the results of the survey to do the redesign. So we're moving right into a sample performance task. So I trust you all have your worksheets in hand, ready to go. So we're going to have our worksheets ready, and we're going to go to the first part of our performance task. In this first task, we have the main walkway. It is shown that we have is made up of bricks in the shape of squares and triangles. Other paths that lead to the different parts of the park intersect the main walkway at right angles. Now, sections of a few walkways are shown, and as we've made it very clear, shapes 1 and 5 are incomplete. Shapes 1 and 5 are incomplete. Now, I would like for you to take some time now, look at those walkways very carefully. Look at those walkways carefully. And I would like for you to look at them and see what you notice. See what you notice and give me some ideas. I want to just tell me from where you are what you notice in that. What do you notice with the patterns? What do you notice with the rectangles and the squares and the triangles? Tell me some things that you notice. You can probably type it in the chat, 1 or 2 things that you notice. Anyone ready to type in the chat what they notice? What are we noticing? Let's see. Mrs. Williams, are we seeing anything in the chat concerning what our children see? What they've
nothing
noticed?
as yet.
Nothing as yet. Okay.
All right.
But
So
probably schools are still typing in what they're, which schools they're from and the number of students. So maybe that's what is not allowing them to say it. So some person says, I noticed a right angled triangle and they notice that it keeps getting bigger. So it's what we call a growing pattern. One person says you add a square to each end each time. That's what some persons are saying. Thank you for that input. And all that input is very great. And I like, is there anything you notice about the triangles? Yes, the parts are getting bigger. Thank you for all of that. Thanks for that feedback. Where is the position of the triangle? What do you notice about that triangle? Where is it? The right angle triangle, where is it? Where in the shape is it? Or where in the pattern is it? Okay, so thanks for the feedback. We do see that the shapes, what we call a growing pattern, the shapes increase. The number of squares are increasing each time as well. Great, so we can see all of that happening. And it allows us to be able to then have an idea of what's going to be happening next. So on your worksheets, I would like to take a moment and complete shape 1 and shape 5. Complete shape 1 and shape 5 in your books. I trust each one has their worksheet. And you're adding. All righty. So how many? So shapes 1 and 2 have 1 block each. Okay, so shapes 1 and 2 will have the same number of blocks. I'm seeing some different things. So let's move right ahead with what we will notice in our pattern. What are the things? You've given me some great answers and I appreciate those. So a triangle is always at the top right-hand corner. So we've heard that it's a growing pattern. We've noticed that the rectangles are placed. One person said it, I think it was from St. Peter and Paul, that we're going to add a triangle. So let's see. So let's continue and see what's happening with group shape 1. So go ahead, let's see, let's share. So what I've seen some responses. Go ahead, Mrs. Williams. Let's progress to the next slide.
okay, we are actually showing what shape 1 would look like. Continue, Miss.
So see shape 1 having 1 more square to the left and to the bottom, as one person said. Whereas shape 5, could I see in the chat how many triangles will be in shape 5 and how many squares or rectangles? Could someone share in the chat how many squares or rectangles, how many squares they will see in the shape 5? How many squares are in shape 5? Any responses in the chat? How many squares are in shape 5? Before we finish revealing.
As I'm seeing 5.
So some persons are saying 5 are in shape 5.
Yes, I'm seeing 10 in total, 10 squares, 1
10
triangle,
squares, good.
10 squares, okay.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. So let's finish revealing for them, Mrs. Williams. So we'll see that shape 5 actually has 10 squares. There are going to be 5 to the left of the triangle, and then another 5 at the bottom of that same triangle. Great. Could someone, so we've told you, all right, so we've looked at that. Let's not go back at that one. We've already shared and looked at the fact that we add 1 square on the left and to the bottom. All right. Now we're going to move on to shape 9 because remember, we're going to be predicting a pattern based on what we've seen in the previous patterns. Now shape 9 is the walkway that leads to the snap joint. based on the design of the other shapes, how many squares and triangles would this walkway have? How many squares and triangles would this walkway have? I'd like you to take the time to, take the time now to tell us how many squares and rectangles are in this pattern, shape 9. You may type in the chat, and meanwhile, you can also be drawing it. If you're not quite sure, based on what we've seen so far, what would your pattern look like? You can then type that in based on your diagram, you can say how many squares and rectangles are in shape 9.
And so, Ms. Harris, the chat is burning up. I'm seeing where several persons are saying there will be 18 squares in total and 1 triangle. And that's the only answer I see coming in.
All right, thank you for that. Many 18 squares and 1 triangle. Excellent. Thank you very much for that swift and fast-fired feedback. Okay, so we have 18 squares and 1 triangle. So, and the 18 squares are all and we have 18 squares and 1 triangle. Now we have that showing up here. We have our 18 squares, 1 being added each time, 1 to the left of the triangle, or 1 at the top and the other at the bottom. So if you were drawing, you should have something looking like what is on screen at the moment. Okay, great. So let's move on. Now, one of the things, if I have a number, if I have a geometric pattern and I see one of the ways that I can help myself in finding out, I can use a table. A table is a very useful tool to help us to see how number patterns progress. So tables help us to see how number patterns grow, what are the relationships, how many we're going. So tell me, if I were to looking at this table, tell me some things you notice about the table. What are some of the things you notice when you look at this table? What patterns do you notice? Let's hear in the chat, what is some of the things that you notice with this table? What is increasing by 2 each time? Thank you for that, Woodford. What's increasing by 2 each time? Okay, the number of squares is increasing by 2. Great. When you multiply the shape number by 2, you get the number of squares. Great from Abistan. So we get the number of squares. When we multiply the shape number by 2, we will get the squares. And I'm seeing that the multiples of 2 are for the squares. Excellent. So we're using even numbers, multiples of 2 for the squares. When I multiply the shape number by 2, I will obtain the number of squares that are in that pattern. Very good. And we are streaming live on YouTube at the moment, so you'll be able to access it on our YouTube channel later on. And of course, you're encouraged to like, subscribe, and share. So based on this pattern in our table, what would you expect? Well, we've just said it. So based on our table, it also confirms that the 9th shape would have 18 squares. Beautiful. So in our discussion, could someone then state a rule that could be used to create the shapes? How would you create the next shape each time? Well, we've said it before, so probably can just say it again. So we can just quickly go right into that. It was already said that we add 2 squares. To add 2 squares, we add 1 to the left and 1 at the bottom. So yes, we're adding 2 squares, but we have to be very specific as to where the 2 squares are added. Add a square on each end. That's a nice summarized way of saying it. Add a square to each end, the top left end, as well as the bottom. Great. Okay. So we're moving along nicely. Let's see what's our next one. Now, we're coming now to part B of our task. Here we're looking at the common playground. The diagram we have here shows the common playground in the park. It has two triangular sections for exercise, and the other part is a grass section for picnics. Take the time now. Remember, this is our workshop, so you're using your worksheet to complete the sections that we're doing. So on your worksheet, we would like you to label the section for picnic. Label it with write the word picnic in the section. You can put on the next part, Mrs. Williams. We'd like you to put on picnic for the section that is for the picnic in your diagram. And you're going to put an E in the section for exercises. So write the word picnic in the picnic section and E in the exercise sections on your grid, on your diagram that you have in your worksheet. So write in the word picnic for the picnic section on your worksheet, and then E for the exercise section on your worksheet. So based on the colors, type in the chat picture for me and tell me, where did you write the word picnic? Which color did you write the word picnic in? Which color did you write the word picnic in? The green area. Thank you, Sidonie Jones. I wrote the word picnic in the green area. Excellent. So okay, I see someone saying that they're not hearing anything. I might have to suggest that you probably log out and come back in. It could be that your audio isn't connecting properly. So the person who sent me that direct message said they're not hearing anything. I think our audio is intact. So I'm going to encourage you to come out, leave the room and come back in. Okay? So picnic, as you've rightly said, will be written in the green area. In the green area. Excellent. So picnic would be written in the green area. And we're all in agreement there. Picnic would be written in the green area. Picnic goes in our green area. All right. And then where would we put the E now? Where would our E go?
And I'm seeing in the chat, Miss Harris, a number of persons
In
are
the red
saying,
area. Okay.
yes.
All right. So I'm seeing that we're putting our E in the red area. And that is in fact so. We're putting our E. All right. And Woodford Primary has put it very nice in each of the right angle triangles. So the exercise will go in the red triangle. So let's reveal where we're putting on our E. So how many E's would I have on my, is my labeling complete as I have it here? Let me know. Is my labeling complete as I have it here? All right, I'm seeing some twos. Is this labeling complete as I have it here? Great. Everybody seems to be on the ball with this one. And I'm saying that I will have 2 E's in each red area. Excellent. Boy, we are rolling this morning, and that's really good. We're having our 2 E's in both sections. Now, before we go to that, can you take that off first, please, miss? Now, how many sides does the green area have? Type in the chat for me how many sides the green area has. How many sides does the green area have? 4, okay. Obistan and several others are saying 4. There are 4 sides in the green area. Anyone, I wonder, 4, great. I'm happy that you're seeing 4 because, all right, 4, excellent, good stuff. So we're seeing the 4, we're seeing the 4 sides, so that means you're seeing it clearly. So there are 4 sides being shown here. Mrs. Williams, could you kindly just spotlight the 4 sides for me, please? Use your highlight and show the pointer and show the 4 sides. So we have our one side at the very top, one side to the right, one at the bottom, and another slant one at the left. Great, so I'm seeing that we all recognize that it's 4 sides. And what's the name for a 4-sided figure? 4-sided figures, do a quick type for me. 4-sided figures are called quadrilaterals. Great. Quadrilateral is a skew though, not a C. That might have been just a typographical error. So quadrilateral. And what quadrilateral do we have here? We can move to the question B now, Mrs. Williams. What's the name of the quadrilateral that represents a picnic section? It's a trapezoid, or we might say a trapezium. Great. We're on the ball. Trapezium or a trapezoid. So the type of quadrilateral that the picnic area represents is a trapezium. All right, take a moment now for me, please. Excellent. Wow, you're hitting me hard with the trapezium and the trapezoid. Great, good stuff. Now, take a moment for me, please, and tell me how many unit squares does the entire common playground cover? How many unit squares does the entire common playground cover? All right, I'm seeing 48, I'm seeing 60. 60 squares, 60, 60, 60, great. I'm seeing several 60s. How did we get that 60? Let me see some quick responses. That's how you got your 60. 60 square units, 60 square units. I'm seeing the 60s, and I do agree that some people count the grids, all right? I'm seeing a 12 by 5 or 5 by 12. I'm seeing somebody saying 98, 48. We only want the common playground area. That's a colored area, not all the squares in the grid, just the one that is colored. So it wouldn't be 98 unless that's a typo. Now I don't have a formula, but I'm seeing that I have 60 is obtained because I have 12 unit squares going to across at the top and the bottom because it's a rectangle. So we have 12 unit squares going to the top, and we have 5 going to the left and right. So as many of you said, you obtained your 60 by multiplying 12 by 5 or 5 by 12, and we got 60 square units. Excellent. So all right, pause a minute. I keep seeing a length by width of 48. So even if I didn't know a formula that says length by width, I'm not sure why somebody's getting 48, because we have 5 squares going on the left and right. So 5 squares, or we could say 5 columns. Sorry, 5 rows, my apologies. We have 5 rows. So we have 5 rows. And we have 12 columns. So it would mean that the space that the surface is occupying is 12 times 5, not 4. I'm not sure. So I hope the person who is saying 48 has seen the error, and they're seeing that it is 12 squares for the top and bottom. So if you count the squares at the top or the bottom, it will give me 12. If you count the squares on the left or right, it will be 5. So since, all right, great. You've picked up the error. Excellent. Let's move on. So in fact, we have 60 unit squares covering the entire common playground area. Common playground. Great. Now, Remember, in your task, you're going to be asked, you'll be asked to make a change to the design. Now, to allow older and younger children rather, to play safely, the Citizens Association requested that the playground have 2 separate sections that are symmetrical to each other. So let me have a volunteer share, how do you know whether the sections will be symmetrical? What would make you know that the parts are symmetrical? Share some ideas with me. Just let me allow one. Raise your hand for me. I see some in the chat. Both sides are equal. Fine. Are they able to unmute Mr. Olime? Use the raise hand feature for me, please. Both sides are equal lines of symmetry. I'm not sure what that means. So just raise your hand for me, please. All right, I see Merlin Francis's class has raised, person from Merlin Francis. So go ahead, Merlin Francis. Go ahead and share with us how you know when something is symmetrical.
A mirror line.
What about the mirror line?
It's in the center.
It's in the center. And that mirror line, what is special about that mirror line that's in the center? What does that mirror line? Tell me something more.
Whatever is on one side is on the other side.
Okay, I like what is if it's on one side, it's on the other side. All right. When they mirror each other, I'm seeing some things. There's a line of symmetry. Yes, if it's symmetrical, I imagine there's something that will make it symmetrical. In this case, it's a line of symmetry. What are the key things that make something symmetrical? So I thank you for that, Ms. Francis's student. All right. A shape or an object has symmetry if it can be divided into 2 identical pieces. All right. I'm seeing the 2 identical pieces, and that is an important part. There's one little piece I'm still listening to here. There are 2 identical and equal parts, but there's something special about those 2 identical parts. Is there anyone else with a hand raised?
When it is folded, both sides match.
Go when it is folded, what happens?
Both sides match.
Both sides match each other. Okay, that can work. Shamara Howell, do you have something to add to that? I'll just say those 2 persons.
Both the sides are facing each other.
The sides face each other. Okay.
They are both right angle triangles.
Okay, thank you for that contribution. Appreciate it. So I'm just gonna take my 2 volunteers that shared that they match each other. I will work with that description, that they match each other, they're identical, and there's what we can call an imaginary line, a mirror line, that allows the 2 things to fit exactly over each other. So it's divided into 2 halves, 2 identical halves, and the 2 are the same because they're identical and they can fit exactly over each other. So I'm seeing several things that are speaking to that. They're the same size and the same shape. They fit exactly over each other when you fold it along that mirror line. So I'm hearing the word coming out. So where would we put that one? So I'd like you to put in that mirror line for us, please. Draw a broken line on the diagram to show where the playground would be separated. I see many of you have begun to use the term, so you've actually gone to my next question, and that's perfectly fine. It means we're on the ball and we're rolling with it, and very good. I'm happy to see how well we're doing. So we'll go in the middle. I like that middle. We can look at that middle a little bit more. It will be in the middle. That's fine. So Mrs. Williams, can you just insert that broken line for us, please? So it's split into two equal halves. And when that line would be a mirror line, and as you rightly said, the name given for that line, we can move on, miss. It's what's the name for that line? It's already said. So please put in your broken line in your worksheet. Make sure that you're following on your worksheet, doing all the parts that we're doing, and you're filling them in as you go along. So that line is called a mirror line. What's another line name for it? You can type in the chat. I think I saw somebody say it earlier on. Mirror line or line of symmetry. Excellent. Wow. I just love how you students are just hitting us with the language, and you're right spot on with your language. Good use of your math language, and I'm very proud of you in that regard. It's a line of symmetry or a mirror line. Great. All right. Now, you said that I could cut it into two halves. Would this half be appropriate for a line of symmetry? Yes or no? And if no, okay. I'm seeing lots of no's. You're hitting with the nose, all right? Why is it that it would not be appropriate for a line of symmetry? Okay, that's asymmetrical. Wow. Good. Asymmetrical, the opposite of symmetrical, we put an A, we put the prefix of an A before the symmetrical. It would not be equal. All right, yes, because we'd have a smaller triangle at the tops, and the two halves are not identical. Excellent. So although it divides into the rectangle into two halves, the two halves will not be identical, and they are not the same on either side. They couldn't fold to fit on each other. So the top part would not fit exactly on the bottom part. Excellent. So we have that idea clear in our minds that it would not be symmetrical. Excellent. We're doing very well, very, very well. Okay, so let's see where we're going next with this. Next one. Now, we're on to another part. So remember now, we're gonna remember that they conducted a survey, and we're gonna use the survey to guide us. So a survey was conducted with some children who use the playground frequently to determine the activity most liked by the children. The bar graph below shows the results of that survey. All right? Look at your survey carefully. Look at the bar graph carefully. And you have in your worksheet, you have a table. So let's go to that next slide, Mrs. Williams. We will continue. Just a second, we will soon. So let us look at the survey. What is the survey telling us?
Thank you.
I would like you to complete the survey, please. In your sheet, complete the survey. Or rather, on your sheet, complete the survey. So finish your table. All right, have we completed the table? All right, so I'm seeing persons typing in the chat. So Miss, could you just reveal what's happening with our activities? We have 3 doing the seesaw. And how do we know that there are 3? What about the bar chart tells us the number of children? If you notice, the bar for the seesaw isn't exactly on a number, but it is halfway between the 2 and the 4, which makes it 1 more than the 2, which makes it 3. Similarly, for the swing or the trapezium, it's halfway between the 8 and the 10, which makes it a 9. So seesaw has 3 persons, slide has 10, monkey bars have 8, the swing have 9, and so we have a total of 30. Great. All right. So now this part of the chart, I don't believe is on your sheet, but you're going to add a column here that shows the fraction of number of children who are preferring the particular activity, whether it be the slide, the seesaw, whatever it is. Have we finished doing our fractions? How would we find a fraction for the seesaw? I see 1/10, okay. So what forms my numerator for the fraction for the seesaw? Looks like we're busy writing on the worksheet, so we're not able to type in the chat, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that you're doing it and it is being done in completion. It's being done entirely. Nothing is being left out. So 1/3, which one is 1/3? I see your Biston Kinder Prep telling me that there's a 1/3. Which one has 1/3? If you're typing in a fraction, say which activity it is and what's the fraction that you got. So I see an 8/15, but I'm not sure which one that is for. So 1/3 for seesaw. Not sure if 1/3 for seesaw. Look at that again for me, please. Seesaw 1/10, 3/30, or 1/10 for the seesaw. Excellent. All right. So I see several of you are bringing your fraction to its lowest terms, and that's perfectly fine. So the seesaw is 1/10, the slide is 1/3, monkey bars 4/15, and swing 1/10. All right. Most of you seem to have gotten 8/15 for the monkey bars. Look again at that 15. Look at that denominator for me. What should be the denominator of your fraction, everyone? Oh, 30. I see your correction now. All right. So the denominator will be 30 because remember the total forms our denominator. The total number, the total for our set, this is a set model in this case, is going to be 30. Great. So Missy can just reveal and then we move on to the last part. Monkey bar 8/30 or 4/15. Excellent. So all of you got those and you should have finished seesaw 10, 1/10, slide 1/3. Don't just put third. Good, 8/30 and 9/30. Excellent. I see some good answers here. And so we can now, we've read our bar chart and we've interpreted it beautifully. So let's answer the questions in your sheet. How many children like the swing? Blow the chat up for me. How many children like the swing? Just type in the chat how many like the swing. 9. Great. Next one. Right, my chat has properly exploded now. 9. What is the most liked activity? Right, I know your paper didn't ask for a fraction, so I'm gonna, remember I said to you, I need you to add that. It's not on your paper, so add that column, please, to your table. So your
Good morning. Good morning. Excuse me, Miss Shamaria, mommy here. The sheet that you're talking about is which sheet?
No, Shamaria should be at school and he should have a worksheet. So I don't know if he's not at school, but there was a worksheet that was sent to the schools that he should have. So if he's not at school, he probably won't have the sheet. So he'd have to get it from his teacher at school.
I even shift should upon.
All right. Well, when she goes to school, you can probably find out what happens there. Or
Okay.
when you go to school, get the sheet from his teacher, and then you can go over it on YouTube. Okay. So he doesn't have the sheet now, but he can get the sheet when he goes to school, all being well, and then you can go over it again on YouTube, because this will be
Okay.
on YouTube. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And we know the most liked activities is 10, the slide, because we know it's the most liked because of what? How do you know it's the most liked? What tells us it's the most liked? I know it's a regular question, but you need to be able to explain why. The slide has 10, but why is that the most liked? What makes it the most liked? What about it? What aspect of the bar chart tells me that it's the most liked? Anyone would like to quickly type that in the chat before we finish off this section and I hand over to Mrs. Williams? What makes me know when it's the most liked or the favorite or the highest number? What about the bar? It is the highest one. If the bar chart for the slide is the highest one. So the tallest bar in my bar chart tells me the most favorite or the highest or the largest number. Great. Thank you very much for that. It's the most liked because it's the highest bar. Thank you for that. And what is the sample size of the survey? How many children did they ask that question? 30. Beautiful. It's over to you now, Mrs. Williams, where we go into our last section of the performance task.
Okay, great going, Miss Cara Harris. You have been doing so great with the children and they have been participating. So children, we want that same energy to continue throughout the rest of the presentation. You have looked at the design for the the different pathways. You have also separated the playground and you have helped Miss Harris through the survey that was done to find out the children's favorite activities. And so we are moving on to section D or part D, where you're required to design the space for the children's playground. And we know with every playground there would be activities. Now, the rectangular space for the children's playground is to be the same area as the space for the common playground in part B. It will be divided into the following smaller geometric shapes for each activity. Triangle for the seesaw. You will be required to use a rectangle for the slide, a square for the monkey bars, and a trapezium for the swing. Now, before you go any further, I just want to bring back to your attention the playground that was used in part B that you're also familiar with. Now, you're required, please pay close attention whenever you're given any task at all, and you see things in bold, it is there to catch your attention. And this is what it says. The triangle, rectangle, square, and the trapezium should use up all the space inside the larger rectangle. So let's go on. So remember, you're now going to be doing what? Helping to divide the playground in the following geometric shapes. Now look at this. For the design of the space, you have 2 dimensions here. You're given a dimension of 4 units by 15 units or 6 units by 10 units. You're to choose one of these dimensions to help design the space for the playground. So go right ahead now and choose your design. Once you have done that, on your worksheet, we want you to actually tick the box to represent the dimension that you would like to choose. And then, based on your dimension, we want you to move on to 4B. Use the grid shown to draw the rectangle you chose for the children's playground. Go right ahead now and draw your rectangle on the grid that's on your worksheet, bearing in mind the dimensions that you would have chosen. All right. All right, so quickly now, you should be finished drawing your rectangle. I want someone to share with me if you would love to share the dimension that you chose and how you went about drawing your rectangle on the grid. You can use the raise hand feature and we will identify you and ask you to unmute so we can hear from you. So anyone would love to share the dimension that you chose and then give us an idea of how you drew it on the grid. Anyone? Any raise hand as yet? All right, calling once. Anyone? Remember, you have to raise your hand so we can identify you. All right, so I'm seeing in the chat where persons are sharing that they have chosen the 6x10 dimensions. All right, good. Now we're going to ask St. Peter Claver to unmute and tell us how you went about drawing your rectangle. St. Peter Claver, go right ahead. All right, we're not hearing you. Go ahead. So while St. Peter Claver is getting ready, we're still looking, at least we've seen both dimensions chosen here. We've seen the 6x10 and the 4x15. Are you ready now, St. Peter Claver? All right, so we're not hearing from them, but we're going to reveal the rectangle. So first of all, you must bear in mind the area of the playground from Part B. Can anyone remind me of the area of the playground from Part B? You can just go right ahead and type it in the chat. That's what's going to take us through the rest of this section. You must know the area. So okay, so I hear St. Peter, they have sent in their answer in the chat that they have chosen the 6x10 because it is wider and have more space. We'll see about that. So what's the area? Remind me of the area of the play space for Part B. Anyone in the chat? Go ahead and type it in the chat. Okay. All right.
Just a minute, Mrs. Williams. I see someone saying that they would have more space. I wonder what they mean. Is it more space than if it is 4x15? How is it more space? I'd love to hear a bit more about that. How is it more space?
So
I think
while
that was from St. Peter. Let me ask St. Peter Claver to unmute. Okay, the person, somebody saying it is wider. Okay.
So St. Peter, you have been unmuted. You can go right ahead and share your response.
Could you tell me why are you the one saying it has more space, St. Peter Claver?
All right, so they're not ready to share, Miss Harris.
All right, then that's fine. Let's move on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we have seen in the chat where persons are reminding us that the play space for part B had 60 square units, and you are so correct. And so in drawing your rectangle, you want to bear in mind that you're covering a space or an area of 60 square units. Perhaps for those of you who chose the 4 units by 15 units, maybe you drew your rectangle like the one shown here. You're also encouraged to put in your dimensions so that we can see that you know exactly what you're doing. And remember, the square units are here to show you. And I'll just go through for this one. This is 1 square unit, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 square units at the top. And then, of course, to the side, we would need 4 square units to show our 4 by 15 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we now enclose our rectangle. And in all, if you should, I wonder who could tell me, when you multiply 15 by 4, what that would be. All right. Okay, so we are seeing that you would have your 15 by 4. I'm having a frozen screen here just now. Let's see what's happening. Several activities going on. Awesome. So here we have it, and all the rectangles drawn here to show the different types or positions in which you could actually put your rectangle. So we have 2 15 4 units by 15 units, and we also have a 10 unit by 4 units, and you could turn it another way. So it doesn't matter what position you want to turn your rectangle in. You just need to put in your units so that we can know that you are so positive with what you do. So based on that, you would have you'd have selected your dimension, and you would have drawn the rectangle to represent that play space. Now we're moving on to part C of our question 4C of part D. Here, you're now asked to use the grid below to draw the design of the children's playground and label each shape clearly. For example, in the triangle, you would write seesaw. Or when you draw the triangle in the rectangle, you want to ensure that the part that you are giving to the seesaw is in the triangular shape, and you are labeling it as your seesaw. So take 1 minute to put in the different sections in that playground. Go right ahead. And then I'm going to ask someone to share. So I want to see who is going to be out of the blocks first, and you will share how you went about sharing up the space in your large rectangle. And as you do so, reminder that you need to use up all the space in the large rectangle to show those smaller geometric shapes. All right. So this part of the task requires some amount of counting and work and so on. And so I said I would give you 1 minute. I don't see any raised hands yet for anyone who wants to share, but I'm going to give you another extra minute to actually go ahead and put in those smaller geometric shapes and label them clearly. So let's wait for you to do that. I don't see anything in the chat as yet, and I don't see any participant raising a hand. It simply means that you're behind the scene working, and that's what we want. We want you to be involved in this task and to do your own bit of work and then share with us. Okay, great. I trust that persons are well on their way. Still waiting to see that raised hand to say how you would have divided your large rectangle to show the different geometric shapes. And we are seeing in the chat that some schools did not get a worksheet. We can take care of that. We will ask for pertinent information nearing the end of this presentation so that you can have access to the worksheet that you can use afterwards in your school. So I'm waiting for a volunteer. I see one hand up. All right. I see one raised hand. We're waiting. I would love to hear from two persons, one that have chosen each dimension. We would really love to hear from the person who have chosen the 10 by 4 and one person who have chosen the 4 by 15 units. And that raised hand went down. Wow, I see that you're really working. And I am very impressed with that. When you're given tasks like these, you want to make sure that you do the right thing. You want to check your work to ensure that you are meeting all the parameters that are given, or all the important information that is given. Yes, you can use the same grid in 4B. That's the grid you should actually be using. Someone asked that question. Same grid that where you drew your rectangle. That's the grid that you're now going to share up the space for the different geometrical shapes. Do we have a volunteer? All right. Counting down from 10. Do we have a volunteer? 10, 9.
Excuse me, miss. Let's just wait. Once we have enough time. So if we can just even get one volunteer and allow them to work it. So I wouldn't, let's not reveal till when we get even one volunteer. We have a little time. Just
Thank you so much, Miss Harris. Thank you so much. All right.
So Woodford Primary probably not able to unmute. So they said they chose a 4 by 15 and draw the slide as 3 by 4. So can you open your mic at all, Woodford Primary?
We could allow them to open, but once they use the raise on feature, that would
raise
help.
your hand, Woodford. Let me just.
But they can
through Mrs. Williams.
They can
unmute to see if I find Woodford and then allow them to. So the same grid that on which you drew your 4 by 15 or your 10 by 6, that's the same, the way you drew that rectangle for part 4B, same grid that you use for that rectangle, that same rectangle that you drew in 4B, that's the one you're gonna put the 4 smaller shapes in. That's the one in which you're gonna put your 4 smaller shapes. So, all right, some persons are still not so clear, Mrs. Williams. Let's see if we can make it a little clearer.
All right, allow me, and I will just go back to 4B. So initially, N4B, you were asked to draw your rectangle based on the dimension that you chose. You would have drawn one of these rectangles. I don't know what position you put your rectangle in, but this is the rectangle that we're talking about, where you now need to divide the space to show the different geometrical shapes representing the activities for the playground. So let me remind you of the activities. The activities are the seesaw, and that one is the triangle. We have the slide, which is the rectangle, and we also have a trapezium, trying to remember which activity is for the trapezium. And we have the square, which is for, I think, I don't want to guess it, but let me go back up so you could actually see the activities. Here we go. So let's make this reveal. Let's take a moment to look. The triangle would represent the seesaw. The rectangle would represent the slide. And you would use a square for the monkey bars. And then a trapezium for, of course, the swing. So let's make that clear for you. Here's the reminder of what each shape should represent. I hope this helped. If it helped, please type yes in the chat. So I hope this helped. So let me go back. For some reason, there was a drop in my internet a while ago. So again, I'm reminding you of the shapes that you should use to represent each activity. So for the seesaw, you should use a triangle. For the slide, you should use a rectangle. For the monkey bars, you should use a square. And for the trapezium, you should use, for the swing rather, you should use a trapezium. I hope this is clear. And I see persons saying yes in the chat. They know what shape to use for each activity. So let us go back to where you drew your rectangle. So whichever of these dimensions you chose, you're now going to divide it up to show the activities, how you're going to use a space for the activities. All right, so this is what we're making a reveal of what you can be working with. So amazing. For those of you who are not sure what worksheet we're talking about, and you don't have the worksheet, it has been posted in the chat. So you can actually go to the chat and click on the worksheet that has been posted there by Giovanni Limi. Where you can have access to it, and you can be following while we are doing the presentation. So you'll have a better understanding of what we're talking about. All right. So with that said, is anyone ready to share what you have done, how you have divided your large rectangle to reflect the different activities? You can do so by a raise of hand.
Shamari from Woodford Primary.
So let me get who is speaking here. All right.
Woodford Primary and Infant had said something, but...
All right, so Woodford, go right ahead and unmute and continue.
Rectangle for slide is 3 by 4.
3 by 4. Hold on, let's take it slowly because we want to hear and we want to follow. So here is the grid that represents your What dimension did you use?
4 by 15.
4 by 15. Awesome. So go ahead and tell us now how you drew your rectangle. Just tell me-
Rectangle,
Yes.
3 by
Mhm.
4.
All right. Did your 15 by 4, did the 15 units go across or did it go down?
Across.
Okay, it went across. So we should have our 15 units, which you'd have seen before. And that's 3, that's 6, that's 9. Let's draw that nicely. And your 15. And we go down 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And now you can close your rectangle. Awesome. Let's do that as quickly as possible. That line is a little off. But I want for you to tell me, let's see if we can get that out. Tell me now where on your rectangle you put your slide. So let me close that up for you.
3 across.
At the top, at the bottom, to the left, let me hear those directions. Go ahead. 3 across where? At the top? Talk
At
to
the
me.
top.
At the top. So you went 1, 2, 3 across and
Down.
how many down?
4 down.
And 4 down. And how many square units is that?
12.
And that's which shape is that now, or which activity is that?
Slide.
And this is for your slide. So I'll just put an S for that one. Very good. And then what did you put beside the slide?
To the other end, the monkey bar.
Tell me if it's to the far right
Yes,
or
miss.
directly beside the slide.
To the far right.
Okay, so tell me how many squares. So here I am at the far right, to the top or to the bottom?
To the top.
Right. How many units did you go across?
4.
All right, so I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So right here, and where next?
But Miss, how do you draw that line?
Go down.
Then we go down. All right, thank you so much. And do I go to all the way to the bottom?
Yes, miss.
Sure, all the way down?
Yes, miss.
All right. And so which one does this represent?
Miss, how you write that down?
Monkey bars.
That's your monkey bar. So the person who is speaking, can we just allow him to finish? All right, so this is your monkey bar. All right, so we're having a little, so I write M for your monkey bar. What shape should the monkey bar be?
4 by 4, miss.
The monkey bar, what shape should it be?
Miss, it's a 4 by 4.
It's a 4 by 4. Do we have a 4 by 4 here?
Square.
Do we have a 4 by 4 unit?
16.
Oh, you want 16. Okay, so you'd have miscounted. Let's look at how many units across you need to go at the top to get 16. So if you count, you would have seen that we really don't have 16. We have a 3 by 4. So if you say a 4 by 4, I guess that you mean that we should go. Talk to me now. What should we do to fix this?
10.
Anything? Any idea to fix it? Anyone can tell him what to do to fix it? We want everybody to participate.
Miss,
Yes, go ahead.
hello, Miss.
All right, so guess what? To fix this and to show it's 4 by 4, let me just help you a little bit here. We should really, as you said, 4 by 4, that's 1. This is going to be 2. And this will be your 3 units. So you must really show your units. Not sure what is happening, but see that? So that's your 4 by 4 unit. Go ahead now and tell us how you put in the seesaw and the swing. Where in the rectangle did you put the seesaw and the swing? Want to hear from you? Continue. All right, so we're not hearing. I'm not sure what is happening, but I trust that you are hearing me. But we want to say good try, St. Peter Claver. We are actually going to be revealing some of what we would have gone ahead and get done for you. So let's make a reveal for a rectangle with 10 units by 6 units. This is one possible way that you could have shared up the space. So here we have the rectangle, and this rectangle is a 10 by 2 units, and that represents the slide. And then here we go. So I want you to follow closely because I want you to go away understanding clearly what you're required to do. So again, you are given 2 dimensions, and we're saying if you chose the 10 units by 6 units, this is how you could now share up this large rectangle for each geometrical shape to represent the activities for the students. All right, so let's continue. So making the reveal. Moving on, we're having some setback here with our pointer. So here we go. We have the monkey bar showing the 16 units, a 4 by 4, and we have a 4 by 4 because remember, the monkey bar, it should be represented by a square. And then over to the far right of the rectangle, we now have the triangle representing the seesaw, and it's clearly labeled. And then the final shape that we would have is the trapezium. Wow, look at the units for the trapezium. Now we have to bear in mind the survey that was taken, right? What portion represent the slide based on the bar that we saw, the bar chart that was done, and for the different activities there. Let's move on. If you chose the 4 units by 15 units, we're going to reveal one way that you could actually share up the space for each activity. Let's go. So again, we started out by making sure that we label the rectangle. All right, so let's go. Here we have labeled our slide again, and for some reason, we started with the larger one. And once we get that out of the way, then we share up the rest of the rectangle. And it is so easy for the monkey bar because it's a square. So there we use a 4 by 4 again for the monkey bar or for the square. Then we went ahead and put in the triangle, and it made it so easy when we put in the triangle because that actually form one side of the trapezium. And actually we can see the formation of the trapezium here, but nonetheless, we're going to highlight it for you in red. And there we have it. Now I want to clean up the grid a little so that we can make reveal of the others. So let's go. And if you, let's clean that up for you. If you place your rectangle in a different position, no worries. So here we go. Still the 10 by 6 units. Again, we label our rectangle and we have started out with the slide again. And look at that. It has taken up a good chunk of the rectangle. And here we are. This time we are using a 3 by 3 for the square or the monkey bar, because we must have a perfect square. So however amount of units we have to the top, that's what we also need to have at the side. And then here we go again. I hope you see the pattern. We're putting in the triangle so that what is left is now what we have for the trapezium, and we label those nicely. So that's a different one from the one below. It's a different way of actually separating the space or sharing the space for the different activities. I want you to notice the space that was shared in this rectangle for the seesaw. Look at this triangle here and compare it with the triangle in the rectangle below. Still having a frozen moment here with my pointer. All right, let's see what will happen. We're moving right along. And as I said, we're having some technical challenges here where we have a frozen screen. So the pointer is frozen. So let's get back up to that. Thank you so much. So we had a little delay there. So here we go. This is actually 3 different ways in which you could divide your large rectangle to show the different geometric shapes that represent the various activities. We're moving right along. Now, based on your rectangle that you drew, you're now asked, and it's the different activities that you place in the rectangles, you're now asked to count the number of squares that each shape takes up, and then use the information to complete the table below. So let me give you a minute to do that. Count the number of squares that each shape takes up, and then use the information to complete the table below. So this will take a little time. So we'll give you some time to put those in. So while you're counting the number of squares, we also want you to write what fraction of the playground each square or each activity represents. And that's based on your division of the playground. All right. Remember, we're giving you some time to write that. So while you're completing the table on your activity sheet, someone has asked for us to go to the previous slide. We will go back so you can see what was there, and perhaps you want to use it to help you to get the idea or the information to complete the table if you drew one like this. But we're not going to stay here for very long. I hope you saw. Let's continue with 4D. Is there anyone who would love to share? Okay, I see some things coming in the chat. I see Abistan said 9 squares for the seesaw, and then 21 square units for the slide. You're going well. And the fraction is also given as for 9 squares, the fraction would be 3/20. I see that. For the 21 squares, I am seeing 7/20th. I wonder how you came up with that 7/20th. Please check that again. All right. Is there anyone who would love to share? So Obistan Prep has shown their answers in the chat, and that's only 2 that they have covered. Anyone else would love to share? So while we're waiting, see what's happening in the chat there. And Obistan is still sending in their information. All right, so we see your information coming in, Obistan. This is a repeat of the first one, 9 squares for the monkey bars, 3/20th. Miss Harris, what's happening over there? How do you think? Awesome. Reach Academy is coming in. And Reach Academy has gone ahead to say they have shared up their rectangle as 6/20th for the seesaw. That needs to be corrected, Reach Academy, because I'm seeing for your slide 20/60th. For the monkey bar, I'm seeing, okay, 16/60th. And for the swing, 18/60th. And they have made the correction to say for the seesaw, it's 6/60th. All right. Okay, and Obistan is making sure that they are finished. Yes. And for their swing, they have 17 squares. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat. And what I've loved is that you've gone right ahead and you have also included the fraction for each activity. All right. Thank you. So we're going to reveal some based on the division of the rectangle, matching the 10 units by 6 units, how we got our number of squares as well as the fraction. So I want you to pay close attention. For the triangle, the seesaw, let's look at how we would count these squares. Here we are, square units. Here we have 1 square, and I'm going upward from here. That's 1 square unit. This is 2 square units, and this is 3 square units. Should I count this little one up here in the form of a triangle? Should I count it? All right, so I'm going to reveal that at this stage, we only count the triangles if they are half, and we can find another half triangle to go with it. We could count those as 1. If the unit has covered more than half, we can count that as 1 square unit, as in this case here. And here is another case where it has covered more than half of the unit, and so we'll count that as 1 unit. All right? So remember this unit here, this has covered less than half the unit, so we won't count it. So let's count for the seesaw. How many units are there? This is 1, 2, 3 square units, and we go to the next one here, which is now 4 square units, and here is a full one, 5 square units. This unit that is more than a half now makes it 6 square units for the seesaw. And we must remember, in order for us to write the fraction, does anybody remember the total area for the playground, or even for the rectangle that you chose, or the dimension that you chose? All right, let's see. All right, and persons are reminding me that it was 60. Thank you. I'm so grateful for that. And you can keep your answers coming in the chat. We are so grateful that you're sharing. So I agree with you. So for the fraction for the triangle, that would now make it 6/60ths. All right, well, we're going to be putting in the other squares for the rectangle. So there we have the fraction. Now, for the rectangle, let's look at that. How many units, squares are there? And that one is an easy count. Look at this. We can count by 2, and we're counting the area inside all the units. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And that would be 20 square units, and the fraction would be 20/60th. We will go to the monkey bar. That one is an easy count. It's a square, a 4 by 4 square, and so we get 16 square units, making our fraction 16/60th. And then for the trapezium, you have to be careful how you count this. I want someone to type in the chat, based on the division or the section for the swing here, the trapezium, how many square units we have for this trapezium. Go right ahead and type in the chat. So let me give you a minute to actually, not a minute, less than a minute to count those square units and tell us. All right? Not making any reveal as yet, but I'm seeing the answers coming in the chat. All right, I'm seeing two different answers. All right, let's see. So I'm seeing 21 and I'm seeing 18. Let's make the reveal. Thank you so much. Remember, if the unit has covered less than half, we do not count that. If we have 2 half units or 2 half triangles, then we can actually count those as 1. If the unit has covered more than half of the unit, or where we have more than half of the unit is covered, then we can count that as 1. So let's do the counting here. I'm counting from the top to the right. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we would definitely count this one because it's greater than half of the unit there. 6, okay? And here we go, 7, 8, 9, 10. This will be counted as 1, 11, then 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And that's our reveal for the trapezium. It is actually, let's get this out and see if we can go down to it. It is actually 18 square units and a fraction of 18/60th. We're quickly going to flow through. Remember, we had another rectangle, same 10 by 16, where we showed the seesaw with more units as well as the swing. And so we want to, and then we see less for the monkey bar and so on. But what we are saying is based on how you divide your rectangular space for each shape, then that's how you would count off the units and you would now complete the table. So this is just a reveal here. So there we go. We're revealing what this rectangle being divided into the smaller geometric shapes is actually showing. So we want you to leave from here knowing how to count the units on a grid when you are representing or when you are asked to actually state what the area is. All right, let's move right along. Thank you. Now, based on what was done, how would you show that all the parts add up to one whole, which represents, of course, the entire ground? Go right ahead and type that in the chat. How would you show that all the parts add up to one whole, the entire ground, the entire playground? So we want to see you. So while you're doing that, let me ask a pertinent question here. When you hear one whole, what comes to mind? So those are some things you need to look at. What does one whole represent? You can type your response in the chat, or you can raise your hand to speak. I think that goes a little faster. Wow. So Woodford is fast out of the block. And thank you, Merlin Francis. You add up all the fractions, and when you add up all the fractions, what are you looking for? What result are you looking for to make it one whole? So we don't want to hear add the fractions and add up all the fractions. We are training you in this session to be direct or specific with your answer. Telling me that you're adding all the fractions is not complete. You're not telling me the full story of what I want to hear, of how I know what one whole really means here. All right? So Reach Academy, I am seeing your response here, but is this answer that you're given here really representing one whole? I see your addition. I want to point out that Woodford went ahead and they would have shown 6/60th added to 20/60th, added to 16/60th, added to 18/60th, and they got 60/60th. Thank you so much for that, Woodford. And Almanil is chiming in on that they add all the number of square units, and that would give them 60. But is that really one whole? All right. Creative Kids, that's the final one I will read, that the total of the area is 60. Therefore, when you add the numerators, you get 60. And Merlin has indicated that 60 out of 60 would be the whole. Thank you so much for sharing. We really admire your participation. So let's go quickly and make the reveal. So from the previous slide, we know that the rectangle was 20/60th and the triangle is 6/60th. So we are now adding to get the one whole. And here we have our square as 16/60th and the trapezium as 18/60th. And let's add 20/60th plus 6/60th gives us 26/60th. And then add 16/60th to that, we get 42/60th. And when we add 18/60th to that, we get all of 60/60th, which is telling us that this is one whole. The numerator and the denominator are the same, and that's how we know. And for the other division of the 10/4 unit, we had the rectangle showing 21/60th, the triangle 11/60th, the square 9/60th, and the trapezium 19/60th. And when we add these fractions, we get 60/60th. And some persons might say, you add the numerator once the denominators are the same, and you now put that over the denominator. All right, so we want to know that we are adding fractions with fractions of 60th here, and that would give us our 60/60th would now give us the whole. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat. We're moving right along. We encourage you to stay with us, work on the worksheet with us also. Now, based on the survey of the children's most favorite and least favorite activities, do the sizes of the shapes for your design meet the children's need? I would love to hear from somebody how you actually know that. Based on the survey of the children's most favorite and least favorite activities, do the sizes of the shapes for your design meet the children's needs? So let's see, think about it, and tell us how you would answer a question like this. If you're willing to share, we are open to hear from you. Do you think your design really meets the children's needs? All right. Anyone is willing to share now? All right. So guess what? I will read a response that was shared in the chat from Creative Kids Learning Academy. They said, yes, I do believe because the sizes of the shapes for my design meet the children's needs because children like the slide and the swing, and that takes up most of the space, while the seesaw, which is the least favorite, takes up the least amount of space. And I like your explanation, Creative Kids. You actually, in your explanation, you actually included the shapes, the activities, and you're using up those words. Which one would have taken up most and the least space to really concretize your explanation? And that is good for me. And they said that the monkey bar is okay because it is not too big or small based on the responses. All right, thank you so much for sharing. And we're going to see if that's what we have. So we are using the information from the previous slide or the previous answer given to the previous question to help us. So to do that, we look back at the information from the survey, as well as the division or the separation of the grounds to meet the different activity. We see here that the seesaw, which was actually liked by 3 children, is this least. Let's see in this. If it's the least, we're seeing here that the seesaw here, the fraction that was given to it is the least compared to all the other geometric shapes. And then we're seeing that the slide, which was the most liked, having 10 children liking it, is also showing that it is actually the highest fraction here. And so we take those into consideration when we are giving our answer. So a sample answer could be, after you make your comparison, that yes, the number of squares covered in the design for the rectangle slide is the greatest, and the number for the triangle, which is the seesaw, is the least. But we had 2 different separation or divisions of the geometric shapes. Who remember this one? So here we go. We're seeing here, and we're pointing it out to you. Let's get down here so you can actually see that in the second set of division that we did by the 10 by 6 units, we had the slide being 21/60th. But look at this. Is it the largest? Oh, yes. Based on the number of persons, the fraction given to the slide in the playground is the largest. Let's move on. We knew that the seesaw was liked by the least number of persons, or we would say it's the least favorite. But is it really the least favorite here? It is actually 11/60th. Is it? Let's look at the square. It is 9/60th. So in this case, type in the chat, let me know. Did the division of your design, or this design in particular, met the children's most favorite and least favorite activity? Go ahead and type in the chat. Let us hear from you. What would you say? All right, anybody? Any response so far? Is it really meeting the requirement? And we're running right along for time constraint, but we won't leave you out of it.
Okay, Maxine,
right.
because the student is saying this is not meeting the children's favorite and least. Why is that? We're saying that is not, but what aspect is not meeting it? Could we hear a little bit more on that, please, before Mrs. ready to move on? So let's hear what you had in mind.
Thank you for pointing that out, Miss Harris. So Pickers Gill, again, we want you to bear in mind that you need to take information from the question to give your full justification or your full explanation. So you're saying, no, it did not meet, but say why. So this is how we're expecting you to answer the question to get your full marks. So you must give an argument to support that. And look at the argument. You're correct in saying no. We're seeing here that a response could likely be the number of squares covered in the design for the rectangle is the greatest, but the number for the triangle, which is a seesaw, is not the least. Instead, the square, which is the monkey bar, is the least. And so, boys and girls, what we're saying to you, no, is not complete, especially when you're asked to explain. That's not all. You must take something from the question to answer. Yes, talk about something that is happening that really goes against the requirement or the design that you're looking for, and which really does not make it true. That's what we want you to do. Explain yourself. All right. Thank you so much. Can you believe it? We have actually come to the end of today's presentation, and we really, really want to thank you so much for joining us. But before you go, we have a number of things we want to say to you. A link will be posted in the chat for you to evaluate the session. So a link is posted in the chat, and we want you to click on the link. It will take you to a Google form sheet where you will be asked to evaluate the session. So the session title, it's given in the information, and your presenters are given in the information. So go right ahead, click on the link, click on the link in the chat, and complete the form that is there.
Excuse me, Mrs. Williams, there's a raised hand. I'm not too sure whether it's a question that is being asked.
Okay, we will go to the
Yes, sorry about that. I just reposted a new link via the same message.
Thank you so much for reaching out to Reach Academy. Awesome. Quite interesting. So the link has been reposted, or shared rather. So go ahead, and Reach Academy is happy indeed. Kamisha, we are going to repost the link again, and we want you to click on the most recent link that has been posted and let us know that you're actually getting in. So one way has asked a very good question. We will reveal that in a short while. Take some time out to complete the link, and we will share how you can revisit this presentation along with other presentations that would have been done by the Region 1